Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about the loops in Python. What are the different types of loops in Python and why we use loops in any programming, right? So let's first discuss a scenario why we use loops, why there is a need of loops in any programming. So let's say you are working in a telecommunication organization or telecommunication company where the company has launched a new internet package. So they want you to write a computer program to send a promotional message to each of the customer, right? So let's say you have a list of customers. You have to write a program to send a message to these people about the new internet package. So what you'll do is you write a statement for each of the customer, right? You write here, hello, customer one, whatever the name will be on index number 0, that will be displayed here. Hello, let's say Ali, we have introduced a new internet package of 100 GB per month in just rupees 500. Okay, so you are going to write a message for each of the customer, right? So here we have 20 customers, so you are going to write this statement 20 times, right? So just imagine if the company has thousands of customers. So what you are going to do? Are you going to write this statement for thousands of the customers? Sometimes the customers are in millions, so you cannot write a separate message for the individual customers. So to achieve this task efficiently, programming languages provide the features of loop. Okay, so in Python there are two types of loops. Number one is for loop, and other one is while loop. When we use for loop and when we use while loop, if the number of repetitions are known, we will use for loop. Just in this case, as you know the number of customers in the company, right? So you can use a for loop. Okay, when the number of repetitions are unknown, then in that situation we use while loop. Let's now discuss for loop and write a basic code how we can write a for loop. So let's say we have same customer list. Now we can use a length function, length function, to calculate the number of items in this list, or you can say to identify the number of customers in the company, right? So you can use for loop. Here we are using a range function. In range function we define the limit of the loop, how many times the loop has to execute. Okay, so with only just two line of code we can send message to every one of the customers, whether there are thousands of customers or millions of customers, but this two-line code is enough to send message to every customer of that company. Another way of writing for loop is we can directly access the individual members of this list, right? Like we can use, let's say we are going to write another way for customer in customers, then the same line. Let's say I just copy paste this one and paste here. I'm going to remove these lines. Okay, so previously we used the range function along with the for loop. So the range function works on numeric values. Okay, when you are going to access the list items using the index number, we use a range function. But if you are going to use the value of the list directly without using the index, you can use it directly this way. Okay, we are fetching the customer from the customers list and we are going to send a message to each of the customer. Okay, now this customer contains the name of the customer, actual name, right? But in the previous example, if I undo it again, if you see here we are accessing the customer using the index of the list. Okay, but in this loop we are directly accessing the customer name. Okay, if we run it, see, we can send a message using just two lines of code. Okay, the message has been sent to each of the customer available in this list. Okay, this was the example to fetch the customers from the list and send a message, but you can use it as per your need. Like you want to display some numbers on a screen for, let's say, I in range 20, and then you just print it I. So this is a basic example of for loop. I'm going to remove this code and just run it. So what we got is the index was started from 0 by default because we just passed single argument here. So this argument is considered the stop argument, okay, the limit. Okay, so the loop is going to start from 0 index till the value of I is less than 20. Okay, so this is going to display the value until 19. Okay, so if you want to display maybe even numbers, you can start with 2 and increase by 2. So this is how you can display numeric values as per your requirement. Okay, let's learn how this for loop actually works. Just a brief discussion using the diagram. So what happens is when we use for is a keyword and this item is a variable, a temporary variable. Here the Python interpreter fetches each item one by one and passes to this variable and checks the condition if the item is available. If yes, execute the body of the loop. If no, just terminate the loop. The same flow we use for the range function. The difference is here we are directly using the list and we are accessing the actual item from the list. But when we are going to use range, or we have to tell the interpreter from where to start and where to end, and what is the procedure for incrementing. Okay, so when you don't pass start value and increment value, and if you just pass the end or the stop value, that is also enough. Okay, so in that case the Python interpreter by default starts from the 0 index and continues to the till the end, and it keeps increasing the index value by 1. So this is the diagram to illustrate how loop actually works. Okay, so now let's discuss while loop. Where we use while loop. While loop basically, as we discussed earlier, when we don't know the number of repetitions. As we saw in the for loop, we were aware of the number of repetitions, right? Like 20, 100, 10, whatever, but we know the number. Even if we are processing the list, then we can calculate the length of list, and then still we know the number of elements available in the list, right? But the while loop always depends on certain condition. So now let's say I have an example where I have a variable that is secret. I'm going to get input from the user and I'm going to check whether the given input is same as the secret. If not, I'm going to execute the loop, otherwise terminate the loop. Now see, in secret we have 7. Let's say let's run this program. So now this program is going to ask us for certain input. I'm going to give 8. Okay, so the input is 8, so it is going to check the condition guess is not equals to secret. So in guess it is 8 and in secret it is 7. So 8 is not equals to 7, right? So condition is true. When the condition is true, it is going to execute the body of while loop, right? And it is going to ask you again, right? So let's say now I put another value that is 6, 100, 45, 54, 45, 89. So we don't know the repetition. As soon as the user enters the correct guess, the loop is terminated. So means the number of iterations are not known. It only works on the condition. How we are going to write while loop? Let's see the flow of the while loop. So how actually while loop is executed? Let's see it in this diagram. Whenever you are going to write a program using the while loop, you have to initialize the condition, okay, before actually writing the code for while loop. You first start with the initializing the condition, then start while loop, check the condition inside while loop, If the condition is true, execute the body of the loop or write the code, whatever the task you are going to perform inside the while loop, write that code here, and also update the condition so that loop should not be indefinite. Okay, if you don't update this condition will always remain true, and in that situation this loop will never terminate. Okay, so if you see our example again, here see, we initialized condition and then we check the condition. If the condition is true, print a message wrong guess, and then also ask the user for guess again. If you don't ask this value, this loop will never terminate. Okay, it will be keep displaying this message. I'm going to remove this input statement. Now let's run this again. It is asking guess the number. Let's input 9. Okay, so what is happening here, the loop is keep executing, okay, indefinitely. So it is not going to be end because it it took input from the user, it applied a condition, the condition was success. Now it is displaying this message until the condition becomes false. Now this condition will never become false because input was 9 and secret is 7. So guess is not equals to secret. Okay, so 9 is not equals to 7. So this condition will always be true. So this will keep displaying the message. So you have to be careful while writing the code for while loop. Okay, so let's terminate it manually. Okay, now what you will do, we take input from the user and will match that input again with the secret word. Okay, so that at some stage we could get the correct guess and we can terminate the loop. Okay, so let's run it again. Now I'm giving number 9, 6, 2, 4, 5, 7. So now there is a possibility that this loop will be terminated when we get the correct guess. Okay, so this is how we write the code for while loop. Let's see another example of while loop where we use while loop. So let's say you have a web application or any application where you get username and passwords, and if the username and passwords are incorrect, you again ask the user to enter a correct password to continue. Okay, so if the username and password are correct, then you allow user to proceed further. Okay, now let's clear this screen. We have a variable that we call it as a condition initialization. Okay, we take input from the user and then we have a condition for the while loop, and this is the body of the while loop. Inside body of the while loop we are updating the condition. Okay, we are taking input from the user so that if initially the username password was incorrect, so give him a chance to enter correct password. Okay, and once the password is correct, then this loop will be terminated. Now let's run this code. Enter password to continue. Let's say I say password is abc456. It says incorrect password, it asks the password again. Okay, let's say I say I'm giving different passwords, it is continuously asking me to enter a correct password. So it will keep asking me until I enter a correct password. So let's enter a correct password, abc123. Okay, so it says login successful, welcome to the Python programming course. Okay, so this is how you can use for loop and while loop. So in this session we discussed two types of loops in Python, that is for loop and while loop. We use for loop when the number of repetitions are known, and we use while loop when the repetitions are unknown. So that's it. We are going to learn nested loops in the next session. Okay, so see you soon.